In this video, you will learn about the perfect tense in Greek. Hi, Rob McIver here. Let's think about the perfect tense. So, where do we begin? Well, I think it's probably a good idea to begin with the English perfect tense. It has many similarities with the way the perfect tense is used in Greek and is familiar to us. In English, the perfect tense is formed by the auxiliary verb have, followed by a past participle of a verb. For example, I have read. He has eaten. We have believed. They have heard. In both English and Greek, the perfect tense implies that a change which has taken place in the past has still an effect in the present. Grammarians call this a change of state. For example, he has eaten might imply he is no longer hungry because that individual has changed from the state of hungry to that of satiated. Now, in both my books, Beginning and Intermediate New Testament Greek Made Easier, and in another video, I have tried to explain the tense system of the Greek verb in terms of aspect, type of action, and time considerations. Now, with the perfect tense, aspect is the most important feature. So as far as aspect goes, we have a choice of imperfective, perfective, and stative. And the perfect tense has a stative aspect. There has been a change of state taking place in the past. Now, this change of state can sometimes be theologically important. Take, for example, John 3:18. Hopus duon eis orton ou krenetai. The one who believes in him is not judged. Hoda me pistuon ada kekritai. But he who does not believe has already been judged, a perfect tense. Because hoti me pepistuken eis to onoma to monogenous huiou to theou. Because they have not believed. You can see that the Greek perfect translates naturally into the English perfect, and that with kekritai, we have a change of state. Has been judged in the past. And with me, pepistuken, there was not a change of state in the past that was necessary. They have not believed. Another example is found in John chapter 16. This is talking about the paraclete or comforter or advocate that Jesus promises. He will speak perites chrysios, hoti ho archon to cosmu tortu kekritai. He will speak concerning judgment because the ruler of this world, kekritai, has been judged. Something changed in the past, and the ruler of this world, the devil, has already been judged. Yet another example, Romans 7:14. Oidamen ga hoti to nomos pneumatikos estin, ego dis akinos imi, pepramenos hupatain hamatian. We know, and we're going to talk about oida a little bit later. Oidamen, we know. For we know that the law is pneumatikos, spiritual, egoda, but I am sarkinos, I am fleshly, literally, I am of flesh. Pepramenos, this is a perfect participle. It's descriptive of ego. I have been sold under sin. A smooth translation. But I am fleshy, having been sold under sin. All right, we leapt into those examples without first showing you how the perfect tense is formed. Let's look at that now. So here is how our pattern verb, luo, forms its perfect tense. Leluka, lelukas, leluken, lelukamen, lelukata, lelukasin. You can see two things are happening here. We have got something happening at the beginning. The lambda becomes duplicate. And then we have some endings. Ka, kas, ken. We're used to sigma in verb endings causing changes. we will discover that kappa also creates some interesting changes. Here are some examples to illustrate the reduplication that takes place at the beginning of a verb when forming the perfect tense. We have pistuo becomes pepistuka, so the p becomes pep. We have geneo becomes gegeneka, the g becomes geg, and you'll notice that the ao becomes aka. And with the eo verb, laleo, we have the perfect tense. Now let me be careful here, there's too many lambdas. Lelaleka. Okay, getting the accent right. Lelaleka. And again, the eo becomes aka. Poieo, pepoiaka. So the l of laleo becomes lel, and the p of poieo becomes pep. And you can go down. Sozo becomes hisoka, tereo becomes tetereka, agapeo becomes agapeka. Okay, here we have something different. The verb agapeo begins with a vowel, and you see that rather than duplicating the vowel goes long. The short vowel alpha becomes the long vowel eta. Similarly, aiteo becomes aiteka, hamartano becomes hamarteka, and elpizo becomes alpika, and in the end we have phileo, which becomes pephaleka rather than thephaleka. It makes sense, really. It's easier to say pephaleka than thephaleka. Now, you will remember me mentioning that the kappa on the perfect ending ka, kas, ken, etc., is going to cause interesting changes. And we have many interesting changes happening to verbs as they form their perfect tense. Akuo becomes akekoa. Blino becomes bebeka. Bello becomes bebleka. Gnosko becomes egnoka. Grapho becomes gegrapha. Didomi becomes dedoka. Urkamai, one of my favorites, becomes elelutha. Wow. The perfect tense of histemi is histeka. Of lambano is ilefa, etc. Yes, you will see from that list that most of the perfect indicative actives end with a ka, although there are some notable exceptions. I'm going to particularly notice gegrapha and ilefa. They finish with a fa rather than a ka. And here is a paradigm of gegrapha, and it does pretty much what you'd expect. Instead of a kappa, it has a phi, and it just adds the as, n, and ata, asen endings on it. So it becomes gegrapha, gegraphas, gegraphen, gegraphamen, gegraphata, gegraphasen. Now, the forms of the perfect for the middle and passive voices are the same. And I have taken as my sample word here, paruamai. And from this paradigm, you can see the endings of the perfect are mai, sai, tai. And there's a reduplication at the front. So the result is peparumai, peparusai, peparutai, peparumetha, peparustha, peparuntai. One of the interesting things about this is the mai, sai, and tai endings go straight on to the end, and we get some changes, some of them predictable. And I have listed many of these changes in an appendix in my book, Beginning New Testament Greek Made Easier. And when you meet them in the New Testament, they will make sense. Now let's look at some examples of perfect tense verbs found in the New Testament. From 1 John, kai en torto gnoskomen hoti. And in this we know that egnokamen, we have known him. Add the English auxiliary verb have, and the translation naturally falls out. And again, this is something that happened in the past. We have known him, and it affects our current status. Hemais udamen hoti mauze lelalaken hotheos. We know that God has spoken to Moses. Autos gar ho pater philei humos. For the Father himself loves us. Hoti, humais me pephalekata kai pepistukata hoti ego para tu theo ex althen. Because you have loved me and have believed that I have come from God. Now, you'll notice I hesitated there because it's I have come out from God, literally, haven't we? But English doesn't find that very tolerable. So the perfect verbs here are pephalekata from phileo, and you'll notice the reduplication is pef at the beginning of this, and pepistukata from pistuo, the reduplication is pep, and I have loved, well, it's actually you have loved and you have believed. Alaligo human hoti kai Elias eleluthen. But I tell you, Elijah has come. You will see the theological import of this. Elijah's not coming in the future. He has come. It's something that happened in the past. It's a change of state, and it still exists in the present. Exelthon de uk edunato leleisai ortois, kai epignosan hoti tasien hiorakon into nao. So this is John the Baptist's dad. He was a priest, and he was on rotation at the temple in Jerusalem. And when he came out from the temple, ex althon, when he came out, he was not able to speak to them. And they knew hoti, that optasian, a vision, he had seen a vision in the temple. And again, here is a clear change of state. Something happened in the past, he saw a vision, and it still is affecting the present. Now, oida is a special case. Oida is translated in English, I know, and you could make a case, in fact, that it should be perfect because this is something that happened in the past that's still relevant in the present. Anyway, in English, we don't do that. We use the present tense. And here are some examples. Ego oida auton. I know him. And I included this verse because it's kind of interesting. Aya, tihu min kai soi, Jesu Nazarene, althen apolesai humas, oida certis I, ho hagios tu theou. And these are the demons speaking to Jesus. Hey, hey. It's hard to translate that, isn't it? But hey, oh, what's there between you and us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? Oida, I know who you are, the Holy One of God. So again, oida, perfect tense form, but we translate it as a present tense in English. Kai ipen auto po estenarkainos, legai uk oida, I don't know. And they asked him, where is he? And he said, well, I don't know. I do not know. All right. How are you feeling? Does it feel a bit overwhelming? Does it feel that there are all kinds of strange things happening with irregularities? Well, let's think about some things that might make it easier to manage and learn the Greek perfect tense. So, first of all, understand the concept. And the concept isn't that challenging. I mean, the perfect tense in Greek and in English are so similar. Something happened in the past. There was a change of state that affects the present. Then learn the paradigm. Yeah, that's all right. Then, how do we manage all the irregular verbs? The traditional method is to learn principal parts. And here you can see an appendix from my book, Beginning New Testament Greek Made Easier, where I list the principal parts of many of the verbs found most commonly in the Greek New Testament. And you will see that they're all in the indicative mood and that there are columns for the present, future, aorist, and perfect tenses of the active voice and the perfect and aorist tenses of the passive voice. And You've probably worked out by now, the futures, aorists, and perfects all have interesting characteristics and throw up many examples of irregularities. So if we have learnt this set of forms for a particular verb, we're well along the way to understand how it is functioning. And yes, in the past, when I've been revising my Greek because I want to refresh it, one of the first things I do is to go through the principal parts and make sure I know them. Not just this list, but the more extensive list that I have in my book, Intermediate New Testament Greek Made Easier. That's all very well and good, and it's a good long-term goal for you. But perhaps there's something that might make things slightly easier. So my tweak is this. First, concentrate on learning the principal parts of the verbs that have the most frequently occurring perfect tenses in the New Testament. And you will see that I have divided my vocabulary into two groups. This set of verbs are ones that occur more frequently than others in the perfect tense. So we have didoka from didomi, etc. And then I have a second set of verbs in the vocabulary, which are perfect tenses of verbs that are also found in the Greek New Testament, but they occur less frequently. Yes, you're going to have to know them eventually, but why not start with the more frequently occurring ones? My next suggestion is that we use the tools of Logos, Accordance, Bible Hub, etc. that will help us with verbs that we don't immediately recognize. And finally, practice. And if you're looking for an exercise that will allow you to practice recognizing and translating verbs in the perfect tense, might I recommend this exercise, which is found in chapter 30 of my book, Beginning New Testament Greek Made Easier. This video is part of a series of videos on the grammar and syntax of the Greek New Testament. You can most easily find these videos by either subscribing to my channel at NT Greek Made Easier or by following me on x.com at robmciver2024. And hey, if you found this video helpful, why not either click the like button or the heart icon below? Thank you.